We've been together on this journey for a long time. I don't know if any of you know how we met, but we met on the long road to Damascus.
Right.
I won't go that way. But in 2008, when we both were delegates for then Senator Obama to the DNC, the first time either one of us ever participated in the process to that extent, and we didn't know each other. And a sister got hungry for all the wrong food. And we happened to stop by McDonald's of all places. And the councilwoman and her husband were in that McDonald's, and my husband and I stopped, and it was just an instant connection. And so we started to talk. Now, we were kind of in a countryside place, and if you're African American, you're always trying to see if there's some sisters and brothers around. That's the kind of stop it was. So as soon as I don't know how many of you watch Blackish, but they did an episode about the nod. You know, when you see another sister or brother, you give that nod. So that's kind of what happened. But it was this instant energy and connection. You know, have you ever met people and you just know instinctively you're connected to them in some way? And we have been friends ever since. Very good friends, and I'm so proud of that. When the council lady was running for re-election in Akron, she just told me to do me, so all of this stuff, she can just have a disclaimer of the stuff that I'm about to say. She was running for re-election in Akron, and, we made a commitment to each other, like we are really ride or die. We are foxhole friends, foxhole buddies, and it's rare to have that. And that doesn't mean that we always agree on everything absolutely politically, even though most of the time we do, 99.9%. But the prerequisite for a relationship is not that you always agree with somebody. If you have a real relationship with somebody, you're going to disagree, but that doesn't mean you fall out. Right. Or you get nasty with one another like some people do. So that's how you know whether or not you have a true relationship. So I had taken on a new post with the Ohio Democratic Party, and Councilwoman Samples was running for re-election, and some of the Summit County leaders had a problem with her being her own woman.
Right.
And a labor union leader decided that he was going to take out of context some comments that she made and try to get that labor union to go against her. So much so they filed against. She had to fight. What was that? What did you have? The labor board, labor relations board. And so people were trying to put pressure on me not to endorse her. Even the Ohio Democratic Party, she put out literature that had the donkey on it, which belongs to all Democrats. The Ohio Democratic Party had the nerve to tell her to cease and desist using the donkey. Wow. So I almost went Sister Girl Stone Cold crazy. But the fact that the labor union, even though she is definitely pro-labor, decided that they were going to make such a big issue of this that I have been invited to speak for the A. Philip Randolph Institute, and they had their reception here in Akron. They had decided they were going to protest. And they wanted me to turn on her, a Democrat in good, fantastic standing. I tell that story to say that along this journey, you meet people for a season and for a reason. Right. Some people in your life for a season, everybody's in your life for a reason. And I can attest to the fact that Councilwoman Tara Mosley Samples is the real deal. She is a fighter for the people. Yes. There was no way I was going to turn my back on my sister. We went through hell, though. I mean, we had to spend our energy fighting against people who were supposed to be our allies. And the Democrats got some nerve. Now, I'm going to talk about running for office because that's what the councilwoman wanted to talk about, but I'm feeling some type of way, so we're going to Democrats got some nerve, and I want to recommend that everybody in this room read an article that Sean King just wrote about soft bigotry of Senate Democrats.
No.
So we got some nerves. The party has some nerves to talk about the bigotry and racism in the Republican Party when we got a bunch of bigots and racists in our own. We need to get our house in order first. And I'm not saying that we should not stand up against xenophobia and homophobia and all the phobias and isms in this society. But every Democrat is not a freedom fighter, and every Republican is not a racist.
Right.
So we need to understand that. You know, I have been channeling Malcolm X. I teach African American history. And it's so funny because my husband, I was running for Secretary of State in 2014, and I gave a Malcolm X quote after the speech. My husband said, "Baby, now you running for office, you can't be out there quoting Brother Malcolm." And you know, me being the rebel with the cause, I'm like, why? You know, Brother Malcolm, people got him all wrong. He was a peaceful man. But he just spoke the pure, unadulterated truth. He was the balance to Dr. King. You know, yin and the yang. They wanted the same purpose. It's just Malcolm put it out there in a different way. But he was not a man of violence. He was not. So, in any case, but I'm channeling Minister Malcolm a lot. And he gave a talk, and he talked about the difference between the North and the South. And he was talking about racial equality in the United States of America. And he said that the North is the fox and the South is the wolf. When he was really bringing home the conditions that African Americans had to endure in this country, basically he was saying that in the North, they camouflage their racism and bigotry. But in the South, we know who we're dealing with, the difference between the fox and the wolf. So for me, taking what Brother Malcolm said, I describe both political parties that we're dealing with right now, the difference between the wolf and the fox. The Republican Party is the wolf, and the Democratic Party is the fox. But it is the same thing. So we have to have the courage as citizen leaders to stand up and fight for what is right, even if sometimes we got to fight people who ordinarily should be our allies. The fact that the Senate, the Democratic Senate, only has no African American chiefs of staff. When African Americans vote overwhelmingly, come hell or high water, black people vote for Democrats whether we get something or not. Every other group, they will decrease their percentage of support for Democrats based on what they have done for them lately. Black folks the only one in this last president, in this election that just happened about 3 weeks ago, 94% of black women voted for Secretary Clinton. 94%.
94, wow.
80% of black men voted for the Democratic nominee. But we have not had a black woman governor in history of the United States. And Republicans bear responsibility, too, for their lack of diversity, but Democrats bear responsibility for taking advantage of the diversity that they do have. You I just came back from San Diego where I spoke to the Progressive Caucus, and overwhelmingly, a lot of white progressives understand that they got to diversify their ranks. So it's no secret that the Democratic Party in San Diego, or the Democratic Party in the state of California, got together for their winter meeting. And the progressive, every caucus, the Asian caucus, African American caucus, now all the caucuses had meetings, but the Progressive Caucus invited me to be their keynote speaker, and the audience was overwhelmingly white, overwhelmingly. There were some people of color in that room, and they recognized, they said, Senator, we got to do more to diversify the progressive ranks. But what I'm telling you today is exactly what I told them. And I said to the white progressives in that room, that it is your responsibility, that the burden does not just fall on the African American, Hispanic community, Asian community, Native American community, to push diversity, not just symbolic diversity, but real diversity, real power at the seat. It is unacceptable for Democrats in particular to not have had an African American woman be governor in the United States of America. There are no African American governors right now. Now, Deval Patrick was Massachusetts. Governor Douglas Wilder was Virginia. We have Pinchback, I'm forgetting his first name, in the 1800s. He was governor for about 34 days. Then we had our brother when Governor Spencer Elliott got in trouble. You guys remember he got in trouble, his lieutenant governor is black. He was governor for a little while, not a long while. So we've had about 5 black men be governor in the whole history of this country. And Pinchback probably was not, because it was in 1829 around there. Most likely he was not a Democrat, he probably was a Republican, because black folks voted Republican when we could vote because of the radical Republicans. That was really the party of anti-slavery. That's true. So no black women. Carol Mosley Brown was the last black woman until now. We got Kamala, thank God for Kamala Harris in California. But what is the obligation of the Democratic Party to make sure that they make the requisite investments so people of color can run and compete in a very strong way for those seats and win those seats? This is not about identity politics. This is about doing the right damn thing. And the right thing says that you will make those requisite investments, that you will recognize. Now, it's not just African Americans only, but when you look at the stats, the African American community is the community that is least likely to turn its back on the Democratic Party come hell or high water. And so you know what? It is unacceptable. There's only one African American chief of staff in the entire Senate. And the Republican senator is the one with the African American chief of staff. Wow. Senator Tim Scott, South Carolina, from the South at that. And not only don't they have African American chiefs of staff or other chiefs of staff of color, even in the higher echelons. I'm not even talking about running for the office, because we can't argue that it is harder in a lot of these states for people of color to run and to win. But I don't care how hard it is, make the investment. Let's do this thing. But even when it comes to hiring, which does not require that person to run for office, they still lack diversity in the upper echelons of those offices. I just talked to somebody who worked for the House about 10 years ago, and he said even when he was there, now we talking about the Senate, but even when he was there as a high-level staffer in the House, he said it was only one other black man that was as high as he was, and they used to joke and say they were going to write a book, just us two. Just the two of us, So we have to hold our elected leaders' feet to the fire and not accept their excuses. And we ain't got to be nasty about it. You got to talk about people's mamas and their dogs and all that kind of stuff. But you got to hold their feet to the fire. And until we start to do that, we're going to continue to get what we have gotten. Now listen, the Democrats got beat like a drum in November. Just period. But this was not the first. We started losing in 2010. 2016 was just that, oh my God, I can't believe it moment. Because say what you want to say about President-elect Trump, and I will always call him that, or Mr. Trump. I did that all through the campaign trail whenever I was on TV, even though he didn't have a political title. If I said Secretary Clinton or Senator Bernie Sanders, I'm going to call him Mr. Trump. That's just how I was raised. Right. Now, I don't have to agree with his politics, but the man ran for the office and now he won, and so he's President-elect Trump. He did win, don't get me wrong. He won the electoral college votes. Democrats, please. I mean, yeah, we get it. Democrats won the popular vote, but that's not how we pick the president. So every Democrat that gets up there and say, oh, but she won. No, you know what? We lost. Right. And we just got to get over it. It's 3 weeks and we still crying about how we lost. I don't know if the Bernie-crats in this room may remember that when we were in Philadelphia. It's getting hot in here now. All of the Clinton supporters, when we were crying and moaning and talking about people was cheating and it ain't fair, they told us to stop whining. Shut up, get over it. So that's our message to them right now. Shut up, stop whining, get over it. Because we got to move on. So the protests that are going on out there, and I definitely, First Amendment, beautiful thing, but we got to protest with a purpose. Now, people can protest, but folks don't have a right to destroy that man's property. It's not right. I don't know how many of you saw footage when we talk about racism and love Trump's hate. I saw some footage of some African-American youth, it pains me to say, pulled this white man out of his car and beat him. They stole his car too because they thought he voted for Mr. Trump. Now that's not right. It ain't right. No matter how you slice it, it's not right. He has a right to vote for the person of his choice, and we don't have a right to put our hands on anybody. So I'm asking that we as citizen leaders have the courage to stand up for what is right and when things are wrong. Now we don't have to fight Mr. Trump on lots of stuff, ain't no doubt about it. But he may do some good stuff. And to the extent that he does, that his ego is big enough to say, I'm going to prove y'all wrong. I'm going to invest $1 trillion in infrastructure and put people back to work and rebuild roads and bridges and airports. I say, bring it on, brother. Let's do the thing. because we're going to have plenty to fight with him about. So we should protest with a purpose. Folks that are just out there protesting for no reason, hashtag he ain't my president. Well, he might not be your president, but he is the president of the United States of America. I mean, ain't nothing going to happen. Right. So either we are going to be strategic about how we retake not just the presidency, but how we regain seats in the legislatures across this country, and governors' mansions and secretaries of state, or we gonna whine our way, we gonna whine and complain and moan and groan the entire time, and wake up in 2020, and the man gonna win again. Right. So we have to organize, agitate, organize, agitate, organize, and that's where citizen leaders like you come in. Now, everybody don't have to run for office, but some of you should think about running for office. I'm going to tell you something. If the Democrats don't get it together right now, between 18 and 24 months, we will never get it together. They will never change. The message was wrong. The candidate was wrong. No matter how we don't want to say it. And what I mean by that, it doesn't mean, there is no doubt that Secretary Hillary Clinton was qualified. No doubt. But that's not the debate. This was a disruption election cycle, and Democrats were too arrogant to see. This was an anti-establishment election cycle, and Democrats were too arrogant to see. And all of the misogyny and all of the things that Mr. Trump said along the campaign trail that makes conscious-minded people's skin crawl did not change the fact that the coalition of the forgotten decided that they didn't want to go establishment. They didn't care how it happened. And that's why Senator Bernie Sanders was the right candidate at the right time, at the right moment. Timing is everything. Now, I know some folks believe that the Bernie or bust folks, they want to blame this on the Sanders supporters. Let me give you some stats if I can, because I just want to give some facts. When Bernie supporters, when Sanders supporters were polled, the overwhelming majority, Lord doesn't even talk about polls this election cycle because they were wrong. But let me just say this. When Sanders supporters were polled, the overwhelming majority of them who participated in the poll said that they would vote. Now, we know that there were Bernie or bust people, absolutely, no doubt about it. And some of that had to do with, Stephen Covey, who is a renowned writer and expert in motivation and how to get people to move strategically along their path of greatness by planning. He has a quote that I love. It says, seek first to understand and then to be understood. And that really was missing in this election cycle. Democrats became very tone deaf. The elite among the Democrats became very tone deaf. They had this kind of I know best mentality. And I'm not telling you what I heard, I'm telling you what I know, because I traveled this country and I was in many of those back rooms. I saw how Bernie-crats were treated. They were treated as if they were crazy, and if their opinions didn't matter, and that they didn't have a right to feel a certain type of way about what was happening in the Democratic Party. And even when the emails came out to verify that how the Bernie-crats were feeling was absolutely true, that the DNC put their whole body on the scale to tip the scale in the primary. Even when they were caught, they still didn't humble themselves. So Bernie or bust was real. But let me give you the stats. Mr. Trump spoke to the coalition of the forgotten. And there was nothing, no counterbalance on the other side that could motivate people to come out to vote. People don't vote for resumes. It makes us feel good to have a robust resume, and we all should have that, but people don't vote for resumes because people don't vote here, they vote here. And we had a candidate that did not necessarily connect right here in the general. So about 53% of white women, with all the pea grabbing and all that other stuff, 54% of white women voted for Donald Trump. 54%. 8% of African Americans voted for Mr. Trump. 23% of Latinos, even with the building of the wall and the immigration and all of that, they still voted for him. Now, the Obama coalition did not show up, as we know, to the same level as they did in 2008 and 2012. African American women were the largest voting bloc in this country in 2012, 9 million strong. But what did the Democrats fail to do? They failed to cultivate the coalition. You can't come to the coalition every 4 years and say, please come out and help me. You have to cultivate the coalition every single year. The Democrats failed to do that. And that is why we got what we got. Now, there's no doubt that President Obama inherited a mess in terms of the economy. We all know that, the Great Recession and all of that. And that he, under his leadership with other folks, did a yeoman's job to try to pull us out of that. They did do that. But this is what you can't say to people. What's your name? Heather. If Heather says to me, Senator Turner, I'm hurting, I can't then turn around and say, Heather, I don't know why you're hurting, because I just resolved many of the problems you said that you had. Even if I tell her I resolved the problem, she says I'm hurting. But I was like, no, Heather, you can't be hurting that much because I just resolved all the problems that you had. But she just said, I'm hurting. That's what Democrats did. Tone deaf. Yes, we have, the unemployment rate has gone down. No doubt about it. So we get out there as Democrats and we say he inherited the worst recession, the worst recession. He pulled up, there was a job loss, and yes, the president did under his leadership, those things did happen. But what about the quality of life of people? So now instead of working that one job, in order to have the same standard of living, many people have to work 2 or 3 jobs. Yeah. So when Heather tells me, no, I'm still hurting, I can't say, but the unemployment rate just went down. So we can both talk about our successes at the same time, recognize that people in this country are still hurting. The millennial generation is going to be less likely, under the weight of the kind of economy that we have, to enjoy the same level of the labor of their fruits as the generation before them, and even 2 generations before that. There was a time, there's a book I want to recommend that everybody reads, and it's called Listen Liberal, is the title. And in that book, the author talks about the fact that the super wealthy, it was Senator Sanders' message, the super wealthy are doing just fine. So when the economy rebounded, their lives got even better. But that there was a period of time in this country that when things were going right, everyday average Americans felt that in their pocketbook. They felt that in their neighborhoods. It was so thick you could touch it. Now when we say the economy is doing better, most people, that doesn't, not for them. Right. So they did a survey in 2014, I think, a poll, and a lot of folks didn't know that the economy had rebounded. Because for them, personally, for Heather, it didn't rebound. So no matter how much we say to them things are better, yes, they are better on paper, but they're not better in the real lives, the flesh and blood of people. And if the Democrats were just willing to have that kind of heartfelt conversation, that we've come a mighty long way, but we got a long way to go, and that we do understand that some people in this country are suffering. It doesn't have to be an either or. Now, the whole notion about whether or not the Democrats should pivot to working class whites, let me just say this. There's another book called Brown is the New White. I want to recommend Steve Phillips is the author of that. And in this book, Steve Phillips gives some stats about the new American majority, which is progressive people of color and progressive whites make up 51% of the new American majority. Now, if you can keep that coalition together and get that coalition to move public policy from the local level all the way to the federal level, we can not only strengthen and expand Social Security, have universal health care, have real, true criminal justice reform in this country. We can maintain it, but that requires an investment in that group of people. Now let me go back to our poor white sisters and brothers. Poverty is poverty. I traveled in 2014 all over the state of Ohio. I've met our sisters and brothers in Appalachia. Let me tell you, poor white folks are suffering. There ain't no doubt But we have to have a discussion in this country, and it doesn't have to be either or, it's and. We can both say that working class whites probably feel left behind because the demographic shift is happening in this country. We're not going back. We are a country of color, period. And people of color are right now the majority in this country. So they feeling some type of way about that because change is hard. That doesn't make them all racist. But we also can say to our poor white sisters and brothers that while it is true that there are poor whites in this country, there are poor blacks, poor Asians, poor Native Americans, poor Hispanics, just poor people all across the board, but that disproportionately African Americans and other people suffer under the weight of that at higher levels. We can say both. And then as a party, we have to say, what are we going to do for the working class? We have to decide whether we are the party of the donor class or the party of the working class. People got to choose. And you can't be both. And so while Democrats, the establishment Democrats, want to talk against Republicans, and I'm not saying they don't need to be talked about, but before you do that, get the mote out of your own eye. And the fact of the matter is that the Democratic Party has turned into an establishment, high donor, donor-only party, period. What's that song, Dollar Dollar Bill, y'all? Money rules the world. What 50 Cent say? Make some money or die trying. Right? Get ready, die trying. Kind of off my rap game a little bit. Ask me about Tupac and LL, I can tell y'all about it. So that's just the mantra of both of these major parties. And what Senator Bernie Sanders was able to show is that, you know what, I'm not going to answer to anybody but the people. I remember being on the campaign trail with Killer Mike. And at the time, the Clinton campaign was trying to paint, Sanders as a dreamer. He reaching too big, he dreaming too high. I'm on the campaign trail talking all kinds of smack. I said, we can't go from a people who yes we can and no we can't. We're just not going there, right? You don't want the leader. You at least want your leader to dream big, even if they don't get all the way there. You want them to get somewhere up in here, not down there. How can you dream too high? How is it dreaming too high to say that you want people to have universal health care and that we want to make sure that we decrease the college debt for our millennial folks in this country so that they can have a brighter future? How is that dreaming too big? I don't know about that, but that's the way I want to go. Right. But what Senator Bernie Sanders showed is that he can be. So the Clinton campaign at the time called him a one issue. Remember that? One issue candidate. One issue. And I said, Killer Mike, they calling our senator a one issue candidate. He said, Senator, he is a one issue candidate, and his issue is the people. Right. That was good. That's powerful, right? Yes. So that's our issue. That's our issue. And so you are empowered. You are emboldened. Titles are really, really good. They get you in the room. They get your phone calls returned. I mean, God knows I get phone calls returned. I'm not going to lie about that. Titles are good. Influence is good. Connections are good. All that stuff is good. Titles are good, but purpose is better. Yes. And that's what I want to end my talk with you this afternoon about your purpose. Notice that I called you citizen leaders. You are leaders in your own right. You don't have to be elected to office to be a leader. You are leaders in your communities. You're leaders in your spaces. It matters that you're there. It matters that you are here today. You could have been doing anything on a Saturday, but you came here today. You are leaders. Some of you may aspire to run for office. Some of you may be more comfortable in the background. But let me tell you, we need foreground and background people. Because in this business, you can't do all the great things that you do without some strong, committed, brilliant, bright background people. And Jason and Pooja are one example of that. You got two young millennials who start the Ohio Revolution. They didn't wait for our revolution to get started. They said, we're going to do our own thing. They doing the thing, too. All over the state, they're building coalitions of people. We need a coalition of people with consciousness. If we have that, we can change this world. Let us not get in the habit of vilifying every single Republican, because all Republicans are not bad just because they may think a different way from us. That was the problem of the campaign. See, the general election campaign was all about how bad Mr. Trump was instead of Democrats talking about why we're better and what we're going to do for the people. We lost sight of that because we got caught up with the shiny object of Mr. Trump being Mr. Trump. I mean, so I hope we learned a lesson from that you have to be aspirationally. They don't necessarily vote because you just said the other person is the worst. And we saw a campaign cycle like no other. And this is going to be a rip-roaring ride for the next 4 years. So y'all better strap up, get ready, let's go. Right. So we got to protest with a purpose, and we have to agitate, and we have to organize. Because 2017 is the next. Local elections matter. Yes. To me, those elections even matter more than the presidency because there are more of those offices. Are we sitting up here worrying about, I mean, yeah, you want your, it's not just about wanting your party to be in power. Can I just say, I want a certain type of person in power. I'm over party now. I'll never be the same after being the national surrogate for Senator Bernie Sanders. That might be good for some people, bad for others. Because I'm not playing the Democratic Party game anymore. I am from the Shirley Chisholm, Bernie Sanders wing, right. The Democratic Party. So for you, my three things, not the three bones, for people who know my traditions, but consequence, commitment. Oh, so I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Consciousness, commitment, and consequence. Consciousness, commitment, and consequence. And it's obvious you all have the consciousness because you're here today. And you got to decide what difference you will make over the next, I would say, decade. Because this is an assignment. I want you to get the memo. It's an assignment. Our sister out there, did you want to come in? No? Oh, okay. All right. So you have to make a decision about what role you are going to play in making this world a better place. And again, you don't need a fancy title to do that. You don't have to run for office to do that. But you do have to decide what is in this particular space. Whether it's education for you, for some of you it's criminal justice, some of you it might be universal health care, others of you it might be the environment. Just pick your problem. Whatever the conundrum is that you want to help to solve, you got to pick it and you got to have a commitment for the long game. A consciousness, if you will, about the crises in this country. Wealth and income inequality is off the chain bad. The likelihood that people who are born poor will die poor no matter what they do to pull themselves up and pull themselves out. Hashtag the struggle is sure enough real. And it's real for a lot of folks. To also have a consciousness that you might have to deal with people who don't believe the same thing that you believe. But instead of vilifying these folks and calling them deplorables and basement dwellers, that was like Romney's 47%. Let's be honest. And I had to think about that thing. Yeah, right, it wasn't Ellen Carr, because when folks over, my grandmother used to always say, you can catch more flies with honey than you can with shit. I mean, that's the grandma said. I'm just saying, I'm just quoting grandma. That's what she said. Right. I had to think about that thing, like flies are attractive foes, but she said more. So I guess the bottom line is you can't win people over by talking about them and talking down to them. Right. If somebody is proven to be a racist, then that's fine. Let's deal with that. But if they're just somebody that believes in doing things a different way, then let's deal with that. I want to try to win you over. I want to try to insult you. I want to try to win you over. Let us come and reason together. But then I had a flashback about my life, that there was a period of time in my young life when I was trying to make it, my family and I, that my husband and I and our son did live in my grandmother's basement. I'm like, damn, I was a basement dweller as a millennial too. Basement dwellers unite. She was talking about the millennials saying, they upset, their life not going the right way, they living in their parents' basement. I'm like, damn, I was up in the basement too. It was a nice basement. It was a finished basement, it was beautiful. But, so we gotta have empathy one to another, that's all I'm saying. And then I have a brother my brother is a conservative Republican. I say, I come from a mixed family, right? And we go at it every day. Every day he takes me through my paces, but I'll never forget he called me up and he said, big sis, I guess I'm a deplorable. That cut me, Because I said, I don't care what my brother's political affiliation is. That's my brother. I love my brother. Right. Like, talk about my brother. Now, as a Democrat, I'm that hat coming off. This is about blood. And I wasn't born a Democrat, but I was born the elder sister of some siblings that I love, whether we agree. And a lot of people feel that way. So in the tradition of what my grandmother was saying about how you can catch empathy, right? you just want to try to get an understanding. Some people you're going to have a meeting of the minds, and some people you won't. I mean, sometimes you're going to win folks over, sometimes you won't. But you definitely won't win them over by calling them names. So we got to have a consciousness. And just the elitism that went on in the campaign. And I never thought I would feel that way about the Democratic Party, but when I saw how the Democrats were treated, I said, damn, it's true. Elitism does flow through the upper echelons of political power, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. Somehow, if you reach a certain level, you think you're better than everybody else. You're going to tell folks what to do. You're going to talk down to them and tell them how to feel instead of trying to win them over, compel them to come. So consciousness. Number 2, commitment. This is a long game. I never forget when I was disgruntled. I was upset in 2014. I mean, one of the reasons why I ran for Secretary of State anyway, even though I knew it was a long shot, because I care about voting. I care about the voting space. And I do believe with all my heart that that is the greatest equalizer. See, all of us can step into that voting booth, and it doesn't matter how much money we have or don't have, our gender, ethnicity, none of that stuff matters, and we can get over laws that try to stop us from getting there. Once you get there, you equal. Right? We're equal. So one of my ministers from Cleveland, an elder who actually marched with Dr. King, who also tells a story about his grandfather who had to go many miles just to go vote, only to be told from voting place to voting place that he was at the wrong place, and then when he finally got to the right place, they told him it was too late to vote. He tells a story of his grandfather, the Reverend Dr. Otis Moss, Jr. And I was so distraught, I mean just distraught, that we have to fight the same battles that we've already fought in this country for so long. And some people gave their lives, and other people who did not gave their livelihoods. See, everybody didn't die, but some people who lived had to live through the ridicule. Can you imagine your employer, what's your name, young sir? Peter. Peter. Imagine your employer saying, Peter, now I need you to vote a certain way. And if you don't do it, you don't have a job. Now, even though Peter might not get killed physically, his whole livelihood is gone. Right. That happened to black people in this country, where their bosses would call them in and sit them down and say, I need you to do a certain thing or not do a certain thing. So we have to have a commitment for the long run. So Dr. Otis Moss said these words to me. He said, Senator, the struggle is forever. So we are forever in the struggle. So that's my foundation for you. That the struggle is forever, so we are forever in the struggle. Meaning that we have to continue to pass the time. That the baby boom generation is still very much alive and popping. I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to tell you something. Senator Bernie Sanders ran for president at age 74, and I just know this. I got a whole bunch of life to live. If I wake up at the age of 74 and say I want to run for president, doggone it, I'm going to do it. You hold it down for 70-something. Generation X and the millennials better watch out because the 70-somethings are taking over. They taking over. But, you know, just to know the struggle is forever, so we are forever in the struggle. And I just see it, you know, as a former track star, if I can say that. You know, running the 440 relay, I want you to visualize the 440 relay. It is really about passing that baton. And each leg is charged with what? They got to get between them and the enemy, the person that they're competing with, to be able to give the next leg of the race what? Advantage. And then the next leg, more advantage. So the struggle is forever. So we are forever in the struggle. We got to remember this. And then lastly, consequence. It is time out for coddling folks just because they got a D behind their name. Now, progressives, this is it. That we're going to hold the Democratic Party accountable. They got 24 months to make something happen, and we just need to leave. Because if they don't do it now, they will never do it. We got beat like a drum in 2016 by a man who never ran for any elected office in all of his life. The president-elect right now rarely takes any of his national security briefing, foreign policy briefing, none of that. He just out there rolling. He was just in Cincinnati on his thank you tour. And it was mainly, I told you so, I told you said, I'm going to make America great again. And guess what? He got 8% of the black vote. Governor Romney only got 6. He got 23% of the Hispanic vote. Now he got less of the popular vote, but he won. I think, 307 electoral college votes. So there has to be a consequence, meaning we need to link up with people of like mind. We need to be omnipartisan. Omnipartisan. This is not about whether you're a D or R. It's really about, are you about the right thing? The RT. That's Army Party. RT is Army Party. Party of the right thing. That's it. So we're not holding the Democrats accountable for as long as we are Democrats. We need to hold them accountable, and there needs to be a consequence. I'm talking about a Tea Party-like consequence. Because what the Tea Party did, they fought from the inside. Now, I don't agree with many of their policy positions. I'm not saying everything that they're pushing for is wrong with their policy positions, but they said to establishment Republicans, we're going to primary you at every turn if you don't do what it is that we want you to do. I would say that the progressives have a great window of opportunity to say to establishment Democrats, either you are for the people or you are not. Either you are for what is right or you are not. Either you are for making sure that the next generation of Americans don't have to scrimp and scrape for every dime, that they deserve to live more than a decent life, they deserve to live a good life. We call people the working poor for a reason, because that means they're not at home with their feet up watching House of Cards all day. Or How to Get Away with Murder. That they're the working poor. And either you are going to put forth policy positions that help them. Nobody's asking for a hand up, they're asking, or hand out, they're asking for a hand up. So either you are for them or you are not. Either you know that they are worth losing for or you don't. And we just ain't have time for you. No more excuses about diversity, especially when the person doesn't have to run for the office, when all you got to do is interview some folks and make sure that you got diversity instead of coming to people of color every 4 years and making us think we the most important thing in your life. And then when we look at your staff and we look at the policies, you don't do a damn thing. We got elected officials in this state right now who call themselves progressives who ain't opened their mouths about Black Lives Matter. Ain't said a mumbling word, but they'll be the first people trying to get the vote. And let me say this to my progressive white sisters and brothers in this room. This is not the burden of the black community or the Hispanic community or communities of color. This is all of our burden. Conscious-minded people, it is our burden to carry. That it is patently wrong for the party that enjoys the most diversity in terms of people who vote for them, and then to not to push to have people of color at the highest ranks of power. We can't stand for it. And at the same time, we can't leave a sister or brother behind, meaning working class people across the ethnic spectrum need us. Poor white people need us, just like our Native American sisters or brothers in North Dakota who are fighting for war. And you know who's already been down there? Senator Sanders. You know who's going down there? Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. But we have our president who can do something about that right now, and he has not done anything. And we can still love but critique. There's something wrong with that. When you got the mayor of Flint, Michigan, got to go back and forth to Washington to beg folks to appropriate money so that they can get new pipes. All of that stuff happened before President-elect Trump. We want to blame everything on him. Well, I got a newsflash for you. Racism and sexism existed way before this man took office. The fact that lead levels in many cities are too high. What are Democrats, but what have they been doing? What did they do when they had the House and the Congress at the same time? When they had the Congress, and the presidency at the same time. And now we're going to point a finger at this man? Oh no, we need to call him out and hold him accountable for his stuff. But at the same time, we got to hold Democrats accountable too. Poverty didn't just start. Violence in our inner city, Chicago, my God, it's like a war zone. Democrats run Chicago. But going to point the finger at President-elect Trump. I'm sorry, it's just time out for you. It's just time out for you, so we can't do it. So consciousness, commitment, and consequence. I want citizen leaders to get out there. Please dream of running for office. You ain't got to look a certain way. You don't have to do a certain thing. All you got to do is be you. And the hell with people who tell you got to act and be a certain way. I was told that all on the campaign trail. My husband can tell you, all on the campaign trail. I had some white Democrats say to me, now, Senator, you just happen to be black. Right. Not a Republican. What's your name again, sir? David, not a Republican. A Democrat said that to me. He said, Senator, you happen to be black. Wow. And he said, I don't want you to draw too much attention to it. I'm saying to myself. Now, I'm a chocolate sister. Okay, obviously, when I walk in the room, he said, don't draw too much attention to it. And I said, okay. Well, first of all, I don't happen to be. I'm black by design, baby. This is what God did. This is what accident he did. This happened on purpose. You know, then I, well, anyway. Let's just say, I let it be known how I feel. So I'm saying that whatever it is, whether you don't think you have the right qualifications, whether you don't think you have the right phenotype, whether you're a woman, you're gay, straight, bi, trans, it don't matter. As long as you have a heart for the people and you know why you are running for office, you need to run. And for those of you who don't want to run for office, we need great people again in the background to help. But what we cannot do is sit on the sidelines and complain and hashtag he ain't my president for the next 4 years. We must do something. And I argue to the extent that he does the right thing, for political expediency, I'm not going to just hit on the brother for nothing. But we need to be there if and when he does the wrong thing and be ready to fight. But in order for our ideas to be implemented through policy, guys, politics is about power. Right. It's about who has it and how they wield it. And so we can have all the best ideas in the world, but if we don't have the power to implement those ideas, then we have a problem. So that is why we have to win seats. We got to win seats from the precinct level, which the councilwoman has been working, from precinct committee person to state central committee person to dog catcher to council person to mayor to prosecutor to the state legislature to the governor's mansion and every single other statewide office that's going to happen in 2018. All the way to the presidency of the United States of America. That's how organized we have to be. And if the 51% of us, progressive people of color, progressive whites, unify for purposes and causes bigger than ourselves, we can get this done. Now, we're going to suffer some pain along the way. But it is worth it to look back and to say that when all this was happening, I wasn't sitting at my house all comfortable and cozy, but that I got in the fight. And that I made a difference. So God bless you, citizen leaders. Let's get out there. Let's do this daggone thing. We're going to take it over. All right.
Don't be grabbing yourself to leave. We're here in leave right now, but we're going to do this again in 45 days. But we have an activity that I really want you all to participate in before you leave, because I want to keep you guys energized and motivated. So, I need 10 volunteers. 10 volunteers who want to actively be involved in this. Okay, I need y'all to stand up. I'm counting here. I don't see 10 yet. 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we're going to put outside of this room. I need you to count 1, 2, 1, 2, 4. All right, I'm going. 1, 2, 1. Give me a number right here.
Oh, 2, what is it? 4.
No, 1. 1, 2. Remember your number.
1.
He's 1, you're 2. Okay. 1, 2, 2. 1, 2.